Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Abundance Formula podcast. It is New Year's Eve. It's the New Year's Eve episode. We are closing out 2025. I can't believe it. I had picked a word. I pick a word for each year, and this year my word was enjoy. I did an episode about that back at the beginning or the end of 2024. I can't remember if I did it at the end of 2024, kind of like this one, or if I did it at the very start of January 1, but my word for the year was enjoy. And it kind of made me laugh because, of course, you enjoy. I was like, my word would come to me during all different types of things through the year. And of course, enjoying the good things and being present and all that great stuff. And then when I would come through times of pain or refinement or purging or healing process, whatever it may be, I had to remind myself, enjoy it, enjoy the process. And I think for me, that was the biggest takeaway from my word enjoy of this year was to really enjoy the process of becoming, because I feel like for me 2025 has really been a deep journey. I've received some great clarity early on this year what it is God wants me to do next, with my profession and my influence, and where he's calling me next. But before taking me there, there was some really deep internal refinement and repair that needed done. I've always kind of been one of these personalities where when something bad happens or a trauma or something like that, that I just kind of push it down and just keep going, because there's just not a lot of time to really deal with those things, maybe the energy that might take from me, and there was more pressing things to continue on. Got a family and other work and things to get done, money to make, all that stuff, right? So I've kind of one of those that would have has been that type to just kind of keep that area under control and subdued and be able to continue to function despite things that have happened in my life. But over the last couple years, I have been in therapy for trauma. And so I have been working on that stuff, but really in 2025, got much deeper into a restructuring of my internal self and reawakening, and resorting through different belief patterns or things that have happened. A lot of mental reprogramming, like physically, mentally, spiritually, a lot of reprogramming. And so something I want to talk about this final episode of 2025 is, lately on the last several episodes, we've been talking about how to perform at your highest level, how to reach your full potential, what kinds of habits or things to do to draw that out of yourself, how to really grow and expand to go where you feel called to go. And so some of that's been really creating clarity on your values, creating clarity on this future highest self that you see yourself becoming in the next 5 or 10 years, and really getting very familiar with what they look like, how they think, how they act, what they do, who they surround themselves with, a lot of these details, right? I'm getting clear on that, getting really clear on what it looks like to see upper limit beliefs happen, and gain cues from maybe obstacles that show up, and capture in yourself if it's something that truly is just because there's an upper limit belief in your own self that's really causing this to come, and how to move through that so you can break through those glass ceilings for yourself. We've talked about that, and just really raising your awareness around how to be intentional with your growth. All this is great stuff. All of this stuff works. We've worked on raising necessity and getting yourself to be more productive. All this is great. But really, the key cornerstone that makes any of these things work and work for a lifetime is really figuring out your true identity and undoing false identities. And I'm going to talk about 3 different identities that people can have going on that they don't realize, or maybe they do. So we're going to talk about that first. And then I want to take you through sort of a meditation type practice. For those of you who are into prayer life, we can call it sort of like a meditation exercise. For those of you who do have a prayer life, this would be like an intense prayer session. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But I want us to work on, because it's going to be integral, that you recognize where you are at in your identity journey, because I thought I had a pretty good one. And I'll show you which section I was in of this identity situation in a minute. But through all these therapy sessions, and what's unique about the type of therapy I was doing is I'm with a very experienced therapist, like a master of EMDR therapy. And what I love about EMDR therapy, and I did tons of research on EMDR, and it's really, really interesting. You should look into it if you don't know what that is. But it specifically is helpful with people who've experienced trauma. And it helps to, it's, everyone would agree, whether you believe in God or not, that our brain is a computer. And so when things in life happen to us, especially if they're very intense, a trauma or something, your brain doesn't file away the memory or the potentially the beliefs that came out of those memories or experiences, doesn't file them away correctly. And so when it doesn't file it away correctly or process it fully, which so for me, that was my thing, is like not letting myself fully process it, because our body goes into protection mode. Like I might not be able to actually function to keep doing the things that are necessary if I actually acknowledge this situation. And so it gets tucked away, but it's not filed properly. So it limits you in other areas of your life, how you can show up, how far you can progress in success, different actions you might take, little symptoms that might show up in your life here and there, things you attract into your life that you don't want. All these things can stem from these deeply rooted things that aren't filed in the right place. And so EMDR is a way of doing therapy. It's through eye movement and sound and these different things, and a guide walking you through a mental process of reprogramming. And for me, it was very important to me that the person guiding me through this process was Christian for me, because you are giving this guide access to your computer and 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 walking you through this very deep transformational process. So I have an amazing therapist, and it's been extremely transformational. And what I've realized is, like, until you can really realize your true identity, and we'll talk about what that means, then it can be hard to reach your full potential. And so when you want to do all these other things, it really roots back to this. And once you know your true identity, the actions and decisions you make will naturally follow after that. Even if it's something that makes you nervous, you're going to feel confident still and capable, because you know it aligns with who you're called to be and your true identity. Where we stumble and we screw up and make epic mistakes, or just feel like we get stuck and can only go so far, is when we're either living in a false identity, or we're trying to embody the identity that somebody else or that somebody said we should be. And we're trying on other people's or other versions that really aren't ours. And that's when things don't work out. And that's when you don't really feel in control or empowered in whatever process you're in, because it's not really you're not functioning and performing from your true identity. But when you are, even if you're dipping into a new area of your comfort zone, you're going to have peace, because you know that you're working from and living into that true identity. So that's really the cornerstone. And so what better time to start to hopefully introduce you all to a practice. And this is something, this meditation or prayer practice, exercise, whatever you want to call it, is something that you will want to repeat, because we'll go through it today. I'll kind of lead it like it's a meditation or something. But you'll want to do it on your own too, and you'll start to get your own flow of kind of how this works. And you're going to want to redo this over and over as you work through this transformational journey. You won't transform all the things in this one session we're doing today. It's not going to end after this episode concludes. So this is something that you'll want to repeat, but the perfect time to launch this transformational, truly at the ground roots of yourself, the deepest parts of yourself, is to start this now at the end of 2025, beginning of 2026, so that you can find that and then feel like anything else you're doing is in alignment and you are functioning out of the right identity. And so then when obstacles come up and you feel the temptation to either fall back into false identity or feel the temptation to fight out of somebody else's identity. A great example of this in the Bible would be like David. He had found his true identity as shepherd, poet, warrior, king before ever facing Goliath to fight. And when he came to Goliath, he had the confidence that he could do it, that God intended for him to win this battle. But beforehand, everybody else is like, you need to wear the armor. You need to do it with a sword. You need to do all these different things. And as they put all this stuff on him, it was a heavy weight. And it was like, he knew his true identity, and it wasn't that. It wasn't that kind of warrior. He was meant to fight differently in this battle. And therefore, he took off all the armor and he did it with a sling. That's just an example of how that can look in your own real life, as to when you know what your true identity is, when you're facing situations you need to overcome, you're empowered, as opposed to not feeling like you can do it, because you don't have to worry about trying to function out of somebody else's identity, and you can catch yourself if all of a sudden you're tempted to. So we're going to launch into a deep journey here. I know it's a deep episode for the final episode, but it really is just from the experiences I've had this year and the deep healing journey and identity shift I've been on in this year. It's really groundbreaking, and it really works both on a mental, physical, of course, spiritual, but like neurological level. It really, really works. And so the first thing I want to do is talk about the 3 types of identities that people can embody. So, of course, a false identity. This is who we believe we are based off of something that's happened to us. So whether a traumatic experience, something that somebody said to us, a label put on us, a mistake we made, or something we did or didn't do when we thought we should have, maybe an environment we were raised in or influenced by. So this is a false identity, or false identities are things you believe about yourself based on something that's happened to you, external things that have happened to you. Number 2, this is the one people don't know about, your constructed identity. So this is one that we've built for ourselves in order that we can survive, succeed, cope, and have the sense of control over our lives after all the things have happened to us. So this could be something like for me, like I'm the strong one. I'm the caretaker. I'm a high performer. I'm an overachiever. Like these aren't necessarily bad identities. However, they are still self-constructed. These aren't bad. They've helped you be successful up to this point. They've helped you stay safe. They've helped you manage. But you cannot perform at your highest level in this place. It doesn't necessarily mean that just because you've been successful in doing it so far, that this is who you truly are or what you're truly capable of. This identity is functional, not free. And for me, in the scriptures, what this makes me think of is that, God can do abundantly beyond what we could ever ask or imagine. So you might be living from a constructed identity and getting a lot of great results. But the reality is we as humans underestimate what we're capable of, especially with God. And so he knows and has intentions for us above and beyond what we could ever ask or imagine. So if you're living and functioning only out of your constructed identity, what you are in control of, you will be limited. You will get limited results. You will have as limited impact to what you're truly capable of. So how free do you want to be is the question. Okay. Now your true identity, that is the one that God gave to you before anything happened to you. This is what was given to you and constructed in you, knitted in you in the womb. This is something that is rooted in truth, not behavior. And so the all-encompassing question, so how do you find your true identity? And I will say it's by engaging in true confession. Now, especially if you are raised spiritually or in a religious world, confession doesn't actually, what the church says it is, isn't really what it is. Like, we think of confession as like, oh, making sure you confess your sins and you say you're sorry and all that stuff. But even in reality, in the police world, when someone wants a confession, they're not wanting you to be like, oh, sorry. They want to know the truth of what, from your experience, happened. What is the truth of what happened from your vantage point? What do you believe about this? What do you believe as to why you did this, or whatever it may be? So confession is truth telling, and the truth must be confessed to be addressed. And this is something I learned in therapy with this EMDR, is if you fight the process of being of really truly being open and being honest to yourself, then you can only go so far, and you can't actually heal, because the truth will always bring peace, even if it's challenging. But in EMDR therapy, if you avoid or override the truth, then the real memory network cannot actually be accessed like tangibly. It can't be accessed and it can't be reprocessed then. So if you can't truly access your traumas or your limitations that you've created for yourself, or these beliefs or these identities, if you're not honest about them, you can't actually access them in your brain to reprogram them. So we need to get access to a target memory and to a target belief system in the EMDR therapy in order to reprogram it. So this is where it gets interesting when I'm not a therapist. So what I'm going to guide you through today is not EMDR therapy. I'm not a therapist claiming to be a therapist. This is a meditative practice walking you through very deep steps of getting extremely honest with yourself and something outside yourself. So we're going to dive into this further here. So we're going to call this a confession, meditation, or prayer process, a truth-telling process meditation. Okay, so again, I'm not a therapist. I'm not taking you through EMDR or any of this stuff. This is just a meditation to help you walk through identifying your false identities that you may have been holding on to knowingly or unknowingly, releasing those, and helping to access and purge those at the most honest level, and then help you become more open to hearing, seeing, sensing what your true identity is. Now, for those of you who do not believe in God, this exercise works for both types of people, for people who do believe in God and for people who don't. And as we go through the meditation, I will walk everyone through their version of how this process will work. Okay. So as we go throughout, I'll help guide you through. You don't have to believe in God to ask questions, real, honest questions. And you don't have to believe in God to answer truly and honestly. So you just need to be willing to test whether the truth exists. So an exchange words that we will use for those of you who maybe don't believe in God is truth, or the author of truth. And this will be something that we're going to have you physically envision as if it's a person, right? The author of truth. Okay. Or if you do believe God, then we will have you physically at some point in this meditation visualize Jesus. Okay. So for those of you who don't believe in God, we're going to be talking about the author of truth, truth telling, the embodiment of truth. And for everyone else, we're talking about God here. So those of you who don't believe, you're not committing to faith here by committing to doing this process fully. You're running an experiment. Okay. So, and if God is real, he can handle real questions. So commit to this process of doing this. It's still going to be a mental reprogramming for you. And it's not locking you into faith believing. Okay. We're locking you into an experiment and a process of truly accessing truth and uncovering these belief systems that exist in all of us and how to let them go mentally, spiritually, physically. Okay. So if this is an episode you're going to probably need to rehear, because ultimately it's, especially if you're new to doing this, it helps to be in an environment where you can sit, close your eyes, and really focus. If you're driving, listening to this, you can still do this driving, don't close your eyes, just envision the things I'm talking about, but it will work best when you can give it your full investment. And then when we finish it, I want you to write down the things that you saw, that you noticed, that you heard, that you processed. So you can listen to it once, re-listen to it again. You can re-listen to this multiple times for the follow-up sessions you'll do with yourself, to continue this transformation journey. And like I said, it's going to take probably more than one time to get to the bottom of ultimately what your true identity is. But this is definitely a key launch pad that will be very beneficial for you guys. So if you're in a place where you can close your eyes, I want you to go ahead and close your eyes and envision yourself either sitting down or you're standing up, whatever feels most comfortable to you. This is all in your mind. So clear your mind space, close your eyes, and I want you to take a piece of paper in your mind. And on that piece of paper and with your pen, I want you to write down all of the things that you believe to be true about yourself. All the things, and especially the things that feel heavy, defining, or limiting, but all the things that you believe to be true about yourself. So just take your time. Make your list. You may fill out more than one paper. I know I did. So now that you've got a good starting list, and again, you can come back to this, you can pause if you need longer, but we'll start with this list. Now, next, I want you to recognize how the list feels overall when you hold it. What's the weight of it? And now I want you to think of, in your mind's eye, just a physical representation of Jesus standing in front of you. And for other people, a physical representation of a human form or a physical being of truth, if truth could speak. And for both people, everybody listening, hand him the list. Hand that entity the list. And don't decide what he does with it. Just watch. Notice his face when he holds it and just what he does with it. And don't force anything to happen. Don't perform. This is an exercise of letting your mind relax and let go, and not controlling what you see, hear, or feel. You might feel nothing. You might not see anything. It's okay. This is still working. But you might feel something. You might feel emotional. You might feel peace. So now that you've given him the list, you see what he's done with it. Now ask him, what do you want me to know about who I am? And remember that truth always brings peace, but lies bring pressure. So that's how you can differentiate. What do you want me to know about who I am? Answer here, a single word, phrase, maybe even visual imagery, or deep knowing. And if you don't hear anything, that's okay. Silence just means that it's an open door, and often can be an indicator that something hasn't been acknowledged yet, a truth that hasn't been let go of yet or spoken. There's still more left for you to be fully honest about, or that you're resistant, you feel some resistance around. So it's usually a belief that you still have about God or the truth, or about who you think you are that you haven't said. So if you're in this place, ask yourself, is there anything that I believe about God or the truth that I haven't said yet? Feel free to say, if it's I don't trust you. I don't think you're real. I think you'll ask too much of me. I'm afraid you'll take something from me. Whatever it may be, what's the fear? What's your honest fear? Or what belief might be associated with God or the truth? Even if you think it's not, but maybe deeply you have associated it with God or the truth. Somebody said something to you that you didn't feel believed in, and you know, it was from them, and you know that logically, but deep down inadvertently, maybe you think God thinks the same, or maybe that's because of who said it to you, he thinks it too. What do you believe about the truth that you haven't fully acknowledged yet? Name it. And just say it plainly. You don't have to soften it, and you don't have to explain it. Just put it out there. And if you have been hearing, if you heard it in the first place, a response to who do you say I am? Ask what else? What else do you want me to know? And what do you want me to do next? Now you can open up your eyes. And again, if you're listening to this and you're in a place where you can smoothly move through this process, now I want you to write down, even if it's in your phone in the notes section right now, or on a piece of paper or a journal, write down the words, you initially wrote on the paper, and what God or the truth embodied did with it. What I found is interesting with this particular exercise is a lot of the people I've talked to, Jesus didn't even look at the paper. I know for me, he didn't even look at it. He just closed. I had a couple papers, and he just closed them in his hands, and then when he opened them, they were gone. It's like they were dissolved. I know some people have seen just whatever they envisioned person threw them away, burned the papers, crumpled them up and threw them away. But never did they even look. Did he even look at them? Which I think is pretty cool. So no matter where you ended up today, so write down those things, write down what he did with them, and then write down when you asked, what does he have to say about who I am? What does he want you to know about who you are? Write down the first words or phrases that came to you that stood out, or if you saw something, an image of something, or had a certain feeling or an idea. Sometimes it's just an idea that comes to mind. And this is where it helps when you have some more time. You can leave as much space as you need. It helps as your brain is working through letting go and letting its walls down. It helps to have space for that silence, because that silence can last. I know that silence can last for me for a while. And then all of a sudden a thought comes to mind. And then it cascades into this conversation and breakthroughs. And what's powerful for those who believe, because a lot of people who believe don't even really acknowledge this, that we have a God who speaks, and that's what makes him different than an idol. He speaks. And as he spoke in the scriptures to all of the people he meant to use for great things and for impact in the scriptures, he's the same God then as he is now, and he's willing to talk to you. But we have to be willing to listen, and the way we can listen and hear him is to come honestly. Just like in the EMDR sessions, you can't actually access that deepest part of yourself if you don't open up, if you're not honest. The lack of truth sharing is like looking at someone and saying, "Hey, I want to talk to you," but you've got your hand held up at the same time in their face, like, but don't. Like, I want to hear you, but like, wait, if your hand's up in their face, they're, that doesn't indicate you really want to hear from them. Are you open to hearing from them? And are you willing to relinquish your own brain's control over the response? And when you really, really want to get to the bottom of who your identity is, you're really ready, then you let that guard down because you just want to know. And you'll be able to decipher the difference between your thought and your control to like perform or make some kind of outcome. You can feel the difference of when you've sat in that silence long enough to let go, and when you've said all the honest things, think to say that could be blocking you from hearing what he has to say to you. You'll hear it. It takes practice, it takes time, and it takes true confession, which isn't, again, about saying sorry for all the things you've done. It's about being honest about who you believe he is and whether he wants to even talk to you or not. That you believe you can even hear him. There's so many lies that we are holding on to, or just our honest feelings, that we don't know what's what about it. Say it. And if you really believe in God, you should believe that why would he not talk to you if you're coming to him honestly? So it's a faith leap that a lot of people don't really live at that level of faith. But the people who do live incredibly because they're living in their true identity. And despite crazy things that have happened in their life, they live in peace, and they're doing it because they're at that level of communication and understanding of who they are. And so when you get that honest with the truth, even those of you speaking of just talking to whoever the author of truth is, you'll get the same breakthroughs. But you got to give space, and you've got to be brutally honest and allow that part of your brain to be accessed to reprogram it for the truth. So no matter where you ended up today, no matter how much you heard or didn't hear, the transformation is now in motion. Write the things down, revisit this same session or similar. Things have shifted in you today. If you did this exercise and you really committed to it and you did it, no matter what you saw, heard, felt, things have shifted physically, mentally, neurologically, spiritually, simply because you were willing to be fully honest. Okay. So this takes time. Our brains, our hearts, and our minds, we've put fortresses around them. It takes some time sometimes to break them down. But you guys, if you stick to this, you're going to really create some massive breakthroughs. And there's no better time than right now at the end of 2025 and the beginning of your 2026 to do this. So tomorrow, when it's January 1, you can enter into the session. Sometimes in the beginning, I had to do this daily in the sense of I had to rewrite my letter again, or my paper, my list, and be like, today, these are the things that I'm feeling about myself, and re-give it over. Okay. Some people do this literally live too themselves. They write it on a real piece of paper and burn it or throw it away, whatever feels right to people. But doing it I've heard of people doing it that way. But what I've experienced from doing it this way, this taps into your computer, your deepest part of yourself, and it's real. It's even more real than burning a physical piece of paper, but that works. That's helpful as well. But this is super real transformation, and you're going to probably be really tired from doing this, but it's truly transformative. So tomorrow, if you do this again, then you might have to rewrite out the things you're questioning about yourself that day. Do that same beginning part, but then you could start with the prompt, what do you want me to know about who I am, who I truly am as I start this new year? Or you could, as I start this new day, as I start my Friday, as I start my Saturday, whatever it is, this new month, you can phrase this however, and then leave the space and always ask the follow-up question, and what else? And what else? And what else? Until you run out. And then a great finish question is, what else do you want me to know? And what do you want me to do next? and see what comes to you. And sometimes as well, this is important to note, it may not come to you as you're in your session with yourself, your meditation, your prayer session, this exercise with yourself that you're doing. It'll come later in the day, right? You're just asking the question. It doesn't have to come in that moment. It can come later in the day as an idea, as a thought. Somebody might say something to you. You might hear it in a song lyric. You might read it in a book. So it can come to you in multiple ways, but that's getting your mind open to hear the answer. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your 2025. I hope you have fun plans for the rest of today. We are going to just be staying in. We were hoping to get together with family, but our youngest Sailor threw up last night. So we're all going to cross our fingers and hope that it's not a strong enough stomach bug that the rest of us are going to get it. So far, she's been okay this morning. That was last night. This morning and today, so far, she's not thrown up anymore. So we're just hoping. Nobody else has gone down yet, knock on wood. So, but otherwise, so we're just going to hang at the house and not put anybody else at risk. But hopefully, if everyone is still good and intact by tomorrow morning, maybe we'll go see some family. But I hope y'all are having a great rest of your day, a rest of your 2025 year, and I will catch y'all in 2026. Bye.